my intro to podcast. Welcome to hashtag HealMeToo at home, with insights, art, and activism to meet the needs of now. I'm Hope Simpson, the artist, activist, survivor, and founder of the HealMeToo Festival and podcast. If you're listening on Apple or any podcast, you might want to check out the YouTube channel for the HealMeToo podcast and festival, where you can watch the video of this interview and every recent episode. In the HealMeToo at Home series, I'm talking to advocates and healing practitioners about all the different traumas that survivors and our communities are experiencing right now, with a special focus on stories you may not be hearing about and ideas, tools, and actions that may help. Subscribe to the HealMeToo podcast today on YouTube and Apple or anywhere you get podcasts, and follow us at HealMeToo Fest on social media to hear about every new episode and every live event we start offering on Zoom. A quick note about today: we won't focus on graphic details, but I do encourage you to take a break or skip ahead anytime you need. And you can find a list of support resources at HealMeTooPodcast.com. At live HealMeToo events, we always start with a few community agreements. And I've decided to start offering one of them at the top of every episode for the rest of season 3. It's called Oops, Ouch, O, or the 3 O's. I offer this tool in acknowledgement that I am a white, cis, middle-class interviewer. I am committed to working for social justice, but I make mistakes. If I say or do anything that causes discomfort or hurt, I hope that podcast listeners and my guests will feel invited to say ouch, so I can say oops, and then listen in the spirit of O to learn to do better. It's such an important time to have uncomfortable conversations, and I'm grateful for the many changes that brings. One thing I hope will remain comfortable is our use of Zoom. As we record this, I'm on vacation at a lake house. Maybe you hear the wind and the waves. Fingers crossed that our Northern Vermont Wi-Fi is up to par. Today, I am delighted to welcome Julie Fernandez, lead trainer at yoga practice Exhale to Inhale and the primary trauma therapist with the Hope Integrative Psychiatry team, where she helps clients feel safe in their bodies, comfortable in the world, and embodied, integrated, and whole. Julie has worked with at-risk teenage girls, disadvantaged youth in inner-city schools, as well as at eating disorder centers, domestic violence shelters, and rape crisis centers. Now she's at Exhale to Inhale, a trauma-informed yoga practice that's specifically focused on supporting survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. Julie, welcome to the hashtag HealMeToo podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here and be a part of this.
Thank you.
Amazing work.
Really delighted to have you. Maybe from there, do you want to tell me and listeners about how you found yoga? And I know you say that you started to share it with others as a way to access inner guidance and reclaim the relationship with our bodies and selves. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah. So my introduction to yoga happened on accident, actually. So I was invited to a yoga class by one of my friends, and I had no idea what yoga was, but I was intrigued. And so I went to my first yoga class, and it's very interesting because it was actually a trigger for me. But within that, I also found a resource. So the yoga practice itself was so difficult, and I hated it, to put it nicely, because
That's putting it nicely.
Yeah, because I realized just how uncomfortable I've been in my body. And it was so painful, actually. But I remember on the way home, I felt like reinvigorated, and I didn't understand. I was like, wow, this feels so good.
Wow.
And I realized that it was maybe for the first time ever, I was breathing.
Ooh, yeah.
And so yoga helped me to find my breath. And so I continued to stay curious about it. And I went back to yoga often and actually had a regular yoga practice because I wanted to understand why it was so uncomfortable for me in my body, but not my friends or anyone else that was there. Right. And so I continued to practice, and I learned about my body and learned different ways to use my body. And that's when I went and I got my yoga teacher training, because I wanted to learn more about it. But then I realized that there's a science behind it. There's a reason why this worked. There's a reason why this helped me. And then I, since then, have dedicated my life to bringing this practice to others so that they can heal and feel better too, just like I did. So
That's
I hope that
so
answered the
great.
question.
It does. And I love that you hated it to start with.
Oh, I did. I still sometimes do.
Sure.
Like, that's just reality. Like, sometimes when my body's in pain and I'm doing any kind of physical movement practice, especially yoga, because it's so slow and controlled, I'm not always loving it. But it's about sticking through it and understanding why I'm not loving it, what part of my body needs maybe a little bit of extra love and support, and using my yoga practice to help with that.
That's wonderful. Well, would you like to tell us and me really about what a specifically trauma-informed yoga or somatic work, and just for listeners who aren't familiar, somatic is of the body. Soma is, like, I don't know if it's Latin.
Soma is, I think it's
for
Greek.
the body.
Greek.
So what does trauma-informed yoga, somatic work mean, really?
So trauma-informed, well, we'll start with somatics. So somatics is the assumption and the understanding that the body, the mind, and our emotions are one interconnected system. So the body has an effect on our mind as well as our emotions. When we're feeling overly emotional, we can feel the effect in our body, right? It's all connected. So that's what somatics is. When we talk about being trauma-informed, and specifically trauma-informed yoga, it's understanding the complex human experiences, understanding that trauma is very prevalent in our society, and understanding the effects of that trauma. So when we can understand complex human experiences and understand our bodies and how it's affected by complex human experiences, we can then learn to better connect with our bodies and with others, and therefore lead to healing our traumas. So trauma-informed yoga is a type of yoga that helps support the healing of trauma, because there's an understanding of trauma and how it affects our minds and our bodies.
Do you have if you were to sort of like take a guess at why it is that yoga is particularly helpful in, making that connection with our body that is going to help repair some of that trauma? Do you have a...
Sure. Yeah. So when we experience a trauma, we really lose that connection with ourselves, especially with our bodies. There is a disconnect in the way that the brain works. Our body, our mind, our body, and our brain are no longer working together. They become separate and they start working. The trauma doesn't allow us to integrate that experience. And so therefore these three parts of our brain are no longer integrated and working together. So yoga and other body-based practices help to reintegrate our mind, our body, and our emotional brain, right? And so yoga provides us with an opportunity to build connections with ourselves and rebuild that sense of self. So it helps us to remain present, to notice and to tolerate the inner experience and the discomfort that we experience in our body due to a traumatic experience.
Sort of exactly what you described, that initially you were uncomfortable, but I gather through the practice of continuing to explore it, it actually became helpful.
Totally. It's I like to say it's like yoga really, it's a great way to learn how to be comfortable within discomfort.
Boy, that's resonant right now.
Yeah, it is.
Who
Yes.
doesn't need that right now?
Oh, we all do.
Yeah. Oh,
Very, very uncomfortable time.
it's a great segue to a little bit of practice. I think, we were talking about sprinkling bits of practice throughout the conversation. Do you want to start something, you know, start us off with something simple?
Sure. I think something simple what we can work on is a really like grounding exercises. So especially because I mentioned too that when we experience the trauma, we often feel disconnected from our bodies. And grounding is a really great way to reconnect with our bodies and to then regulate our nervous system and find maybe more of a sense of calm and safety. So I'll guide us through a quick grounding practice. So I invite you to find a comfortable seat. You're welcome to do this standing as well. And so I'll give you some time to find that, whatever that looks like for you. And take a moment to feel your feet on the ground. Maybe noticing your body in your seat. Or noticing whatever is supporting your body in this moment. Perhaps you feel that support directly beneath you. You might notice pressure. You might notice the sensation or the texture even of the chair or the seat, if that's available to you. And also notice if you prefer to have your eyes opened or closed. There is no right or wrong. We're just observing. And as you notice your feet on the floor, maybe your seat in the chair, maybe you can take this opportunity to notice any sensations in your body, wherever that may be, and whatever sensations arise. We're just noticing. We're not judging them as good or bad. We're just observing. And as you become aware of sensations, or maybe you don't notice any at all, notice if your body is needing or wanting any kind of movement in this moment. And that may mean some stretches, making some adjustments with your body, whatever it is that your body's needing or wanting. And take your time. We'll just take another moment, making whatever adjustments or stretching in whatever way you need. And then as you're ready, I invite you to come back into the room. If your eyes are closed, gently flutter them open. You're welcome to take a look around the room, noticing the different colors and shapes. Maybe seeing if you can notice anything that you didn't notice before. And coming back to the present in this moment.
Nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I forgot to mention that sometimes people may not even wish to participate, but I think that your personal story of, this didn't work for me at first, sort of inherently a hope invited listeners, to skip ahead if that wasn't sounding right for them.
Oh yeah, as always. And part of being trauma informed and as a healer, as a yoga teacher, is being able to provide options for people and normalizing that it's okay if you choose to opt out of something.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding one size does not fit all. So what might be helpful for me might not be helpful for someone else.
Yeah. I noticed on the Exhale to Inhale website, there's a video about some research that was conducted with a researcher at the New School for Social Research about how yoga helps people feel better in their body, and more agency. Does that relate to can you talk a little bit about the importance of choices and that experience of agency that I imagine are connected?
Yeah,
In
as
a
a trauma
trauma-informed,
survivor.
yeah, in a trauma-informed way. I'm sort of fishing because I have a suspicion, but I guess I'm asking, is that connected? I don't mean to imply that I
It's
know it is.
100% it's connected. Yeah, there's a reason why that is so healing. And so we work like the majority of our clients and our students are survivors of domestic violence and sexual violence. And what we have to understand about survivors of domestic violence and sexual violence is that they survived an experience where an abuser was trying to take power from and take and have control over them. And so when we look to help someone heal from that experience, we now want to give them choice back, so that we give our students and our clients back the choice to do whatever they feel is best for their bodies, and to give them the power back. So we empower them to make the best choices for them and their body, and understanding that they are the ones in control of their bodies now, once again.
Yeah, yeah. Do you happen, I don't mean to put you on the spot, do you happen to know the statistics, about the impact of yoga for survivors? I know that it's incredibly widely used.
It is, and I don't have like the actual numbers with me of like the survivors of sexual violence and the effects of yoga.
Mm-hmm.
What I do know is that we have taught to over like 3,000 survivors up to date, and we have seen a significant increase in the stress in our clients or students' bodies, bodily pain, and sense of agency. So that's what we measure when we do our own research, and we measure the amount of stress, the bodily injury or bodily pain, and then sense of agency. And we've noticed significant improvement in our clients. That they self-report having much less pain, much less stress, and an increase in their sense of agency. Mm-hmm. So they reconnected with their power and their choice once again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Mm-hmm. Coming back to that first experience that you had, I know that there are probably some typical reasons that people feel like it's not for them, or like they are concerned, oh, I'm not going to like this, and I believe Exhale to Inhale is kind of different from, regular yoga practice. Is that right?
Yeah. So there are many barriers to yoga and reasons why someone doesn't turn to yoga. And I think I'm trying to think back for me. This actually also relates. It's like, I didn't think my body could do it, right? I wasn't as flexible as all of the other people I was seeing in the class, right? And I looked different. Like if you look at, crazy big curly hair, darker skin, right? What you see typically are white females, really skinny white females, right? And I wasn't that. So I immediately felt like, oh, maybe I don't belong here.
Wow.
And so that is a barrier we have to think about. Like, how do we make it more accessible? So all kinds of people from different backgrounds, different skin colors, and curly hair, straight hair, black hair,
And body
whatever,
types and
bigger bodies. Yeah, bigger bodies, smaller bodies, where we all feel comfortable in this class. And Exhale to Inhale, at Exhale to Inhale in all of our classes, we offer options and choices for how to practice in a way that feels better for you. So maybe you can't fold forward and touch your toes. So fold forward any amount, and that's your yoga. And if you can't stand or it doesn't feel comfortable to stand with your feet closer together, then stand with your legs wider apart. So it's about offering different shapes and postures that will work for the individual. And so giving people also that space and time to find what works for them is part of being trauma informed in a yoga class.
Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering, these days, with the amount of stress that everybody's experiencing, and also with the question of, access and inclusivity that you were just talking about, because obviously Black and brown communities are going through just a disproportionate impacts right now, whether it's COVID or whether it's, racial trauma right now is obviously very front and center. So are you hearing from people in your classes about that they are carrying more physical pain these days, or are you seeing it show up in the work that you're doing with clients, with classes? And are people reporting to you about how and if it's helping? It always helps, so I have to assume it's also still helping, but I'm just curious what you're experiencing as a teacher in these times.
Yeah. So with Exhale to Inhale right now, we are not teaching live in the shelters because of COVID, but we're offering our classes online. So we're making it accessible still to survivors. So free online classes to survivors, because we never want that to be an issue either. And so then me personally, in my sessions with clients, right, who I'm still working with live, I am seeing an increase in the amount of stress and trauma that is surfacing. It's coming to surface to then be healed. And I think too, I want to name that, because I said it in that way very specifically, that we're seeing this manifest and it's surfacing because it's ready to be healed. It is time for us to look at this and no longer keep suppressing it. But a lot of my clients, most of them, I think maybe all of them, are surprised by what has been showing up for them, because up until this point, they thought they were fine. But I had a surge of new clients come in because now they're feeling anxious. There's an anxiety or an insomnia that has shown up that wasn't there before COVID.
Yeah.
Right. Or even before Black Lives Matter, or and I'm seeing too a lot of my clients that are like non-Black clients that are experiencing, a lot of things right now, a lot of symptoms that are coming up because they were unaware of the harm that they have been causing. And that's showing up a lot as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you for that, including that. I certainly can relate in terms of not that I had been unaware entirely, but it's a very intense time to be appropriately examining one's role and harms. And perpetuation of all of these harms. It's so yes, I think even still, obviously, it doesn't. I mean, I can only surmise that it doesn't really hold a candle to the anguish of um, identifying, as a black or a brown person with watching, some of the George Floyd tape, for example. It's
Yeah.
a different experience, obviously, than anyway. I'm sort of stating the obvious, but so thank you for sharing about what you're seeing in your community of clients. It makes a lot of sense. Are the online classes that you're running with Exhale to Inhale at all interactive, or are they sort of sessions that people can tune into on their schedule, etc.?
Yeah, so they're pre-recorded and they're
Got it.
sessions that people can tune into in their own time and access from wherever they have internet connection.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm going to mention where people can find the online classes through
Yes,
Exhale
please.
to Inhale. So the online class offering is called A Space to Breathe, as I understand.
Yes.
And it's on exhale to, spelled out T-O, inhale.org/a space to breathe. And I think there's a different theme, every week. Do you want
Yes.
to tell me a little more about what's available?
Sure. So we have, I think it's 5 different teachers. We have a fellowship program at Exhale to Inhale where we're constantly teaching, and right now we're teaching teachers how to teach this work. So
Love it.
they're learning how to lead the teacher trainings and continuing education that we also provide for yoga teachers and other professionals. And so it's 5 of us where we pre-recorded these yoga classes, and each week is a different theme. 6 weeks, and so we have 6 different themes, and they are continuous flow.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sort of like
Yeah,
a wheel. You rotate through
yeah,
them.
yeah.
That's
We'll
cool.
rotate through them.
And I think I have them from the website: themes of connection, anchoring, experience, restoration, empowerment, and resilience to build
Yeah,
stability and grounding. That
yeah,
all sounds great.
yeah.
Actually, you want to try another bit of practice? Lead us in a little bit. I think we had talked about, do you have one at the tip of your tongue? I think we had talked about right here, right now, possibly.
Sure. So, well, right here, right now is one of the mantras that
Oh,
we offer. We end each class in a meditation, a 1 minute meditation, and we offer a mantra. And so I'm happy to guide you in a 1 minute meditation if you'd like.
yes,
And
please.
yeah, so if you're interested in exploring and joining me in this, so I'm going to invite you to find a comfortable seat once again. If it's available to you, allow your feet to rest on the floor if you're sitting on a chair, or find whatever comfortable seat, whatever that looks like for you. And for this meditation, notice if you prefer your eyes opened or closed. There's no right or wrong. If you decide to leave your eyes open, I invite you to find a point that's not moving. And this just helps to keep our attention inward. And so we'll spend 1 minute of silence in this meditation. And the intention for this is not necessarily to get rid of our thoughts. It's not about that, but it's rather to focus our thoughts and to remain in the present moment. And for this, I like to use a mantra or a word or phrase that can help me to stay focused. And for this practice, we'll use the phrase right here, right now. If you find it useful or if you're curious to try it, then I invite you to repeat the phrase right here, right now, silently in your mind throughout this 1 minute of silence. So again, if it's useful for you, you can repeat silently in your mind the phrase right here, right now. And our 1 minute begins now. And if your eyes are closed, I invite you to open them once again. Coming back into the room, coming back into your body, noticing any sensations. And just noticing how that felt. Doesn't take much to feel a shift, probably.
I love that that's a silent meditation with a suggested inner dialogue, you know, like
Yeah,
not sort of let loose to the workings of your mind, a mantra.
right.
I
Yeah.
haven't
And
actually,
it's just a way to refocus, right?
yeah, I haven't used that before, a mantra for meditation. Um, that was really nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I feel so lucky with these interviews that I get to just sort of like, you know, settle.
Yeah, I bet.
I know
Yeah.
that when I listen to it later, I'm like, yeah, your voice is really different afterwards, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'm
So,
curious, what do you notice now? Do you notice any shifts, whether in your body, your
yeah, I
brain, or
mean,
your breath?
right. It was really in my breath and my emotional state more than um, today, you know, I'm carrying certain little stresses in my body, so those haven't disappeared, but I did, you know, they probably are less than the first time that we checked in about them with the first practice that you did.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah, and notice, so that just brings me back to what we talked about earlier. They're still there, the discomfort's there, but maybe you're a little bit more comfortable within that discomfort.
Mm-hmm. Right, and in a positive feedback loop, it probably allows it to relinquish a little bit too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there's no resistance to it. The
Mm-hmm.
resistance that then
Fighting.
causes more bracing, more tension.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Um, well, I wanted to make sure that we mention a couple other ways that people can participate with exhale to inhale. We mentioned a space to breathe. Then actually there's the option of a donation-based class. A space to breathe classes are free, but you can
Mm-hmm.
do a donation-based class through Movement for Meaning. Um, I'm not 100% clear what that entails. Do you want to fill me in?
Sure. A movement for meaning is a movement that we've created where we have other people, other teachers, healers in the community that um, offer these specific classes that are in benefit of exhale to inhale. So the proceeds from that class will go to exhale to inhale so that we can continue providing these services to others. But these teachers and healers and other people from the community will teach a class to bring light to the work that we're doing and to just bring more awareness to this work.
That's wonderful because even when it's in person, I think exhale to inhale classes are always free. Do I remember that right?
Yeah, Exhale to Inhale classes are always free for the survivors, and we also teach classes to the to staff at shelters and community centers. Those are free as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so if folks wanted to give a donation to help this work, there is also that option at all times, exhale to
Yeah.
inhale.org/donate. We'll get you there. And if you wanted to explore the movement for meaning idea, that would be exhale to inhale.org/movement-for-meaning. Well, I know that we're going to offer a podcast extra as a standalone thing where you lead us in a 15-minute chair yoga. So I'm wondering if we should go ahead and wrap up the main interview and start that because I'm kind of eager to do it.
Sure. Sounds good.
Have I skipped past anything that you wanted to talk about though? I don't mean to rush to
I
the
don't think
end.
so.
I
Yeah,
feel like,
no.
yeah. Thank you so much for sharing about the work and giving examples of the work and sharing your own personal experience. I really hope that people who listen to this will be intrigued about the possibilities of, I think body-based work for survivors is sort of obviously inherently sometimes threatening or at least nervous making or ambivalent. Maybe a more mild state would just be ambivalence. But I know people who have really benefited in the work that you do. And I feel like just even in these little experiments that we offered today, it sort of demonstrated that it's a really gentle experience.
Yeah. Well, it's gentle. It's go at your own pace, listen to your body, and only do what feels right. Don't do anything that doesn't feel good.
Plus now with it being virtual, you could just like tune in, see how you like it, and nobody even knows. It's totally private and anonymous.
That is true. That
Yeah.
is true. Yeah.
All right. Well, Julie, hang on for just a second. I will just close out the episode and say that that's it for today. I hope that you will tune in next week and every week for more ideas that may help with the needs of right now, whether you're a survivor, an ally, or a member of communities experiencing stress and trauma in these times. In the meantime, you can catch up on the episodes and extras from our first and second seasons. Subscribe to our HealMeToo podcast and festival YouTube channel, as well as on Apple Podcasts. If you take just a second to give us a rating and review on iTunes, you can help more survivors and allies to find us. You can join our mailing list at HealMeTooPodcast.com to hear about our future festival pop-up events on Zoom, and follow us on social media at HealMeTooFest. I hope you'll say hi in the comments. Thank you for listening. See you next week.